Hi and welcome, everyone. I'm Mallory Rochester, and I'm coming to you from Calabasas, California. And I'm thrilled to be here today with New York Times bestselling author David Levithan and international bestselling artist Jens Lekman, co-authoring Songs for Other People's Weddings, Barnes& Noble's book club pick for August. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Good, good. It's great to be here.
Yeah, good.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having us.
Hi. Where are we coming from today? Where are you two?
I am in Gothenburg, Sweden.
And
And
David?
I am in my office in New York.
Well, welcome. You guys are just off of your East Coast tour, right? About to start your West Coast, coming this Friday when the album comes out.
Yay!
Yay! How's it been so far?
It's been great. It's going to be very hard for me to tour without a musician by my side ever again. It's been amazing because the book was such a collaboration, and then it has ended up the events are a collaboration as well, and the reaction from people has been extraordinary to see.
Yeah, the events have been absolutely beautiful, and it's been a lot more calmer than the usual tours that I go on. Less partying and beer drinking, but more more good talks for sure.
Okay, we like that, but we also do like the partying and the DJing and getting into that kind of fun. So, David, you are a best-selling New York Times young adult author who's been in this game for about 2 decades. This is your first collaboration into adult fiction. And Jens, you are an international best-selling author or best-selling artist who also happens to be a wedding singer with a huge global following. What brought this spark, this idea between you two together? Because music and weddings are things that are globally loved. So where'd this come together?
Well, as with all fiction, it starts with some truth, and that truth is Jens's to share.
Yeah, so I guess we start with my first record had a song called "If You Ever Need a Stranger to Sing at Your Wedding," which wasn't a song meant to be taken seriously, but people did. And I think David was listening to that record back in those days when that came out. Um, so it kind of starts at the same point, my wedding singing career and our what began as mutual admiration club, but later turned out into friendship and collaboration.
So basically, about 4 or 5 years ago now, Jens emailed me, and again we had sort of exchanged emails and talked over the years, mostly about sort of publishing and music, but said, I've had this side gig as a wedding singer, and it just it seems like it would be a great story. Do you think there's a book in it? And I was like, yeah, that there is a book in it. That sounds really fun. And the idea of this wedding singer who is always surrounded by couples and couplehood and love, but is still trying to balance out his own love life, which I'm sure we will talk about. Um, so that premise I thought was really interesting. And for me, I've collaborated with lots of other authors and once with another photographer or with a photographer, but this felt unique in that it very easily could lend itself to collaboration, that we would have Jay, the fictional wedding singer, write songs for each of the wedded couples. And so I would be busy writing the weddings, and then Jens would be busy writing the songs for the weddings. And that was really how it all came together.
I love that. Um, how does it feel or how does it differ to venture from YA?
I mean, it's funny because in some parts it obviously is exploring a different part of life, and certainly I very much enjoyed sort of being in the adult world with my characters. Um, more drinking and partying going on, and it being legal to do so. But also, obviously, when you're looking at love as a teenager, it's a very, very different vantage point than looking at love in your 30s or 40s. And so that was really interesting to me. To Most of my previous novels have really seen the origin story of a person's identity
Yeah.
when it comes to love. But this book is really about somebody who's been questioning their relationship with love and their relationship to relationships for a very long time. Um, and sort of things come to a head. So that was a very different thing to write about than about the first love that teenagers experience.
So when you guys were then collaborating and trying to figure out what we were going to write about, Jens, when you were thinking about writing a book about a wedding singer, did you have an author in mind? How were you going to tell this story?
I mean, the story went through a lot of different. The story started as a TV show, I think, many, many years ago. And then, and as with so many TV shows, it didn't happen. But I couldn't let go of this idea of this becoming a story of some kind. And and then I was reading 19 Love Songs by David, and I thought, wait a minute, it's right in front of me. This is the perfect person to write this story.
I love that. In your New York Times interview that you guys did recently, you said that sometimes the song came first and sometimes the chapter came first, the story came first. Can we elaborate on that back and forth and how it worked?
Yeah, I mean, the idea that David came up with as soon as I proposed this idea to him was that I would write the songs for fictional couples, just random love songs, and then he would write the chapters backwards from that, so that the song was the conclusion to the chapter. And that it was a very fascinating way to start this project, this story. But it also became very hard for me to connect with the couples when I didn't see them in front of me, when I had to just make them up. Because I do this when I play at weddings sometimes as well. I meet with the couples and I write them a song for their wedding, a wedding song.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about that meeting, when you sit down with them, when you get to know them a little bit, and you get to find out these small little details that have poetry in them. And that's how you build a song. So when David switched it around in around chapter 5, I think, and said, I've already written the chapter, here's, write a song for these characters. It helped me a lot to connect with them emotionally.
David, anything to add to that?
No, I mean it's interesting because we hadn't really, usually with collaborations we don't figure out the ground rules, we just sort of make them up as we go along. And so I'd always thought that we would alternate and that there would be some songs, but it truly wasn't until that fifth chapter that sort of we swung the pendulum, and it did create a different energy to have Jens know the characters ahead of time. But at the beginning, it was really fun for me to sort of have that assignment of, here's a song, try to create the characters whose wedding song would be this particular song. And so again, it was amazing how different the process was, whether we flipped it or not.
And I was probably a little bit too eager, and I started sending songs a little bit too
Yeah.
fast to David in the beginning. You didn't have time to switch that around.
Right.
I started reading the book, right? The book's got the QR code so that you can hear the songs. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to take a pause. And I started the audiobook. And the audiobook is a completely other experience. We get all of the musical notes, we get the songs performed. And it really was a pleasure to just get to listen to it because, they're meant to be sung. So it was beautiful. I have to say that difference in the deliveries is just fun. I think fun for readers and fun for listeners. So let's talk about these weddings. I was freaking out in my car as I was listening to it because the first wedding where the characters come dressed as their favorite songs is everything to me. My best friends threw me a birthday party last year for my 40th, where everybody came as the top 40 their favorite music video artists from their favorite music video. So we had everybody across the board. So this one resonated the most with me, and it was the most fun. So who came up with this one?
I think it was me.
Yeah, same.
I had, I think it was my 30th birthday party or something, that a friend of mine came up with this idea to, the theme would be dressed as a song title. And the fun thing about it was how literal people took it, you know. It was, you had to really guess what song title they were. And most of my friends are music nerds, so they went deep.
Who did you go as?
Me?
What song title were you? Yes.
Oh, I was supposed to be 99 Luftballons, like Jay in the book, and then I turned it to Raspberry Beret because I looked more like a raspberry. Yeah, that's entirely based on me.
So is the writing process for you similar to Jay's writing process? Like, you're meeting with a couple, you're asking those pivotal questions, and then you're also having moments later down the line where you're making up the songs really quickly based on seeing them, you know, having very few details in less than a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it differs from couple to couple. There's an extreme in the book where Jay plays at Borough Hall in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And he has to make up the songs within like a minute or two. I don't think I've ever had such a tight deadline on my songs, but I'm a pretty fast songwriter, so I can write them within an hour or two at least. But the writing process is, I think David, that was something that I think he really managed to capture. The writing process and the thoughts that go through your mind as you're writing these songs. That was something that really touched me about the way he described that. But also especially how the writing process and the meaning of the music within the book really touched upon the motivation that I have for singing at these weddings, which I hadn't really formulated to myself until David explained it to me.
What was that, David?
Well, I think it is, to me, I was really fascinated by the notion of just how intrinsic music is both. I mean, the wedding is sort of the quintessence of how essential music is to our lives. Like that you can't imagine a wedding or a wedding party without music. I mean, it would just be if there was no music, you would just look around and it would feel so unromantic, it would feel so unmonumental, it would feel so uneventful. And that's how you sort of put your own stamp on it, is the songs that you choose. And every single wedding memory I have is pretty much of like what was playing on the dance floor and who I was dancing with. And so that's so intrinsic. But I think what is interesting in the course of the book is that the character Jay does step back and realizes that actually, like, this is what songs do in our lives in general, that we do map ourselves out onto songs, and that one of the most wonderful gifts you can give somebody is that tuneful articulation of a truth that they don't necessarily know that they know, or the sympathy of when you hear a song and you're like, oh my God, that's exactly what I went through, or that's exactly what I'm going through. It's just uncanny when you hear that and you relate to it on such a crazily visceral level. It's harder for a novel to accomplish that. A song can just get in there and get you into it so instantly, and it is both the songwriting and the music. So I think that's what was interesting to me, was as somebody who is not a songwriter or a performer, to think of it purely from a listener standpoint is what role has music played in my life, and does it still
Yeah,
play?
absolutely. Absolutely. I really did think that the book was a love song of its own
Mhm.
in its entirety. You know, it's tender and warm in its exploration of love's beauty and its difficulties and its flaws, and how, you know, we all grow in relationships, but also how we outgrow some relationships. But music is universal. Everybody can remember, you know, that one song that takes them back to
Yeah.
exactly where they were in that moment, like you were saying. So to bring these two things together is was just such a fun concept. And it's just so different than anything else that's out there, which makes it such a process. It was fun to do. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that.
I mean, I also think that it is a tribute to music itself, or at least that's how it felt to me.
Yeah.
Because I think I had been struggling for many, many years with what the purpose of music was. Maybe it was just to me, but I think it was in our time as well, when it felt like music was becoming more and more like a scented candle, something to have in the background. And to formulate that, what music means at these weddings for Jay and for the couples and for me as well as in my real life. That was one of the things that I took away from writing this with David.
What, or who, I guess I should say, are some of your musical inspirations? What are you listening to at the moment or when writing this?
I mean, it was very interesting to me because I deliberately did not listen to Jens's music
Oh.
while writing it. Um, Again, we met because I was listening to his music while writing another book, and I've
Mhm.
certainly he's been on rotation for books, but this one I did not want to do that, and instead just sort of had the roaming playlist of what mood am I in today and listening. I mean, I will say, went on a deep dive when writing the costume, like all the songs that are there is like, I mentioned Dancing on My Own. I should listen to Dancing on My Own. Oh, it's time to listen to Dancing Queen again. So that was really fun to try that on. Um, so I always had music going on to sort of encourage the musicality of the language while I'm writing. And as far as what I've been listening to lately, I'm actually seeing Haim tonight in concert. I've been listening to their album a lot this summer. So they're on heavy rotation right now.
Yes. We love a good
Um,
sister group. I'm
Yes.
going to see
And
them in September.
California. Yeah.
Yes.
I can't remember what I listened to when we were writing this. I mean, we haven't touched upon the album that I'm releasing this Friday.
You are.
But I mean, I could talk about the musical inspiration for that, but when it came to the book, I mean, sometimes I just feel like the songwriting has become a craft that isn't really connected to. I'm not sure what it's connected to anymore. It's just
Okay.
songs show up, and I'm grateful for them to show up. But yeah, I'm always stunted when someone asks me what was your inspiration, what was your musical inspiration. Like I've been listening a lot to this new artist called Jordan Patterson lately, who I think is absolutely amazing. But I cannot remember what I listened to when we were writing it.
No, don't worry. Let's touch upon the album that's coming out on Friday then. Tell us more about this.
Yeah, so in the beginning, I think the plan was that I would release an album with the songs that you can access through the QR code in the book, which are the songs that Jay, the wedding singer, writes in the book. But somewhere along the line, I started realizing that this is going to be a very confusing album if you listen to it out of context, because there's just a lot of songs for these couples that you only know about if you read a book.
Right.
And so somewhere along the line, I started thinking that maybe it's time to write my rock opera, my big epic, narrative concept album. And that little voice is that I have in my head that says things like these is a very annoying little voice, and it comes with very stupid ideas. But this time I decided to go with it because at least it gives me the fun ideas. So it's an 80-minute long double LP with 17 songs that narrates the story from a first person perspective. Um, and I have no idea what I've got myself into, to be honest.
That's how it's fun. It's beautiful. I can't wait to listen. This is a great beginning. Let's let's talk about Jay, our main character, who is a little unlucky in love and ironically is a wedding singer. I think his relationship at the beginning, right, when he's traveling so much and he doesn't really notice that he's away from V. But then when she is gone, he has a much stronger reaction to their separation. Why do you think that is? How did we work through that?
Well, I think to me, the interesting part is, again, they've been dating. Jay and V have been together for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is sort of the phrase I keep thinking is pre-existing condition. So basically, Jay's life is the pre-existing condition to the relationship. When they met, Jay was a singer who occasionally sings at weddings, and basically his life is he knows what he wants. He is on the path to getting it. He knows his routine and what is up with it. V, meanwhile, basically is still trying to figure out who she is. She's trying to figure out what her place is. She's trying to figure out what her profession is, and when an opportunity comes, instinctively she's like, "Oh, I want to go for that." But so she's sort of the partner in the relationship who's more in flux, and I think that's part of the tension. I love that you identified that because it is that their whole relationship, Jay has been doing his thing, and that's been cool. But now V kind of wants to do her thing. And it's not that Jay wants to prevent her at all from doing it, but it just means that they have to reconcile a new sort of condition that they weren't prepared for in the relationship.
Yeah. It's complicated.
Yeah.
It's complicated like a real relationship, and it's ups with its ups and downs and what we expect from the people we're with. But as he's exploring and discovering, I guess, what he expects from V, he also maybe finds there are little hurdles for him. And he becomes so entrenched in his feelings and his need for her.
Mm-hmm.
As we're exploring other relationships in the book, how do those relationships, because he's discovering himself, I think, through these relationships, right? The story, like he's finding like little things and reflecting on those moments, and he's also learning as we are learning with him.
No, I mean, again, because I think that was one of the interesting things about the setup is sort of what would Jay learn from the
Yeah.
other people in the relationships around him, and how would that fit to what he's going through with V, and sort of every time you meet a couple, it's a different model for you. I mean, that's what it is in life. When we have friends, I mean, no two friends have the same relationship, or at least in my life. Like every couple you're friends with, they have a different relationship, and inevitably you look at them and you go, "Oh, is that the relationship I want to have? Oh, is that? Oh, they do this thing that I really love, but then they do this thing that I really would never want with my partner." And I think Jay gets to sort of have that in a very strange way with these strangers, that they are sort of exposing sort of the secrets of their couplehood to him. And I think he does get to sort of run through it and try to figure out truly what would be most the best way to love for him. And that might not be the best way for V to be loved. And I think that's where the tension comes in.
Absolutely. Jens, I know that you stated in the New York Times article that you were going through a middle of a breakup while also in the middle of the book. How do you think that affected any of the songs?
Well, this happened around the time when David switched it around and asked me to write a song for a finished chapter, which just happened to be chapter 5. And it was the story of Sky and Detroit. And I just remember reading this chapter and seeing poor Sky stuck in this dysfunctional relationship, where they don't really seem to be very happy, and just feeling so much for Sky. And I think that came out in the song that I wrote for them. It is, I think it's the first time in the story where it really came from my heart, what I was feeling.
Okay. Were there any songs in the book that were inspired by real experiences that either of you or people of you known?
Yeah, I mean, some of the first songs were written for people in my life, or for people who had been in my life in the past, because I didn't really have a chapter with characters from David yet to write for. So I had to pick people from my own life to write for. So yeah, some of those early songs are a little bit personal for sure.
Any of the wedding experiences, David, for you?
I mean, for me, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I put in any of my wedding experiences, and I was so hyped up. I mean, obviously, I've never performed at a wedding or been a wedding singer, so obviously the character was seeing it from a different vantage point. Um, I will say, I mean, there is, and again, this is purely from Jens, but is a situation about the singles table at a wedding where sort of the people who don't have dates are all sort of thrown together at the same table. That definitely, I had some empathy while writing about that table. I was like, oh yeah, been there. Um, but a lot of it, honestly, was the fun part was talking about some of the anecdotes. I mean, again, I keep using this as an example and bring back Jens's trauma. But when Jens told me that he had, in fact, passed out inside of a wedding cake, um, I thought, yes, I will have to use that in a chapter. I mean, that is not autobiographical for me, but it was for Jens.
Right.
So there are certain strange moments from weddings that weren't about the couple or weren't personal details about anybody that Jens knew, but just were these things that happened that were really fun to take.
Speaking of things that happen, Jens, Jay at one point panics, like right before he's about to sing his song. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, multiple times. When is that? I feel like he panics a lot in the book.
Yeah.
Which chapter are you referring to?
Oh gosh.
Um, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I've been drawn to singing at strangers' weddings is because I like putting myself in very weird and awkward situations. I think with normal shows, playing at normal venues or going on tour, there's always, of course, an element of surprise to it. You never know who's going to be in the crowd, but there's still a little bit of a script, like this happens and then this happens, and it's quite controlled, all of it. But at a wedding, you have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, the whole cake thing that David just told you about, I had no idea that was going to happen. That was at the end of a quiz, I think. I was going to jump out of the cake and I was going to be the answer to the question or something like that. I had no idea.
Hmm.
But have I ever panicked before? Yeah, I've forgotten to learn specific songs or forgotten to check the dress code. But I also feel like I am it's hard for people to relax at weddings and have fun. And I often feel like I take it upon me to mess up a little bit in order for the others to be able to relax and
Oh, I get
enjoy the
you.
wedding. Because I'm the stranger, it doesn't really matter. I trip on the way to the microphone, or pretend to forget the lyrics or something, and that makes everyone else just go, "Oh, nice! Someone messed up. Now we can have fun."
Yeah. Okay. Jay searches for the right words to save a relationship. Do you feel words or music are more powerful when it comes to mending love? Question from the chat.
I mean, I think it all depends. I mean, I think in the book, I think Jay is trying to save his relationship with V and does at first think that there is the right song to sing or there are the right words to say that will somehow make it all will conquer the situation that they're in. And I
Mm-hmm.
think part of the the grace that he has to find at the end is that sometimes there aren't. Sometimes there are
Right.
situations that words and music aren't enough to save it. And that is something that I think both Jens and I felt very strongly about. Like we didn't want to sort of have a wrapped in a bow, sort of everything works out ending because sometimes it doesn't, but that's still okay. And I think I was really moved by the last love
Right.
song in the book called The Last Love Song because it is about just the fact that even when it goes wrong, you still keep going. Um, and that I think that is really the thing that is interesting is that the music and the words ultimately it's about saving yourself and getting yourself past the things that happen, even if they can't always get you every single thing or person that you want.
I mean, I think that music is communication to some degree. To be able to formulate yourself. I mean, even doing this with David it was a dialogue between me and David. I think, and writing a song is also to. I love that. I think it's like a Joan Didion quote or something that she said she writes to find out what she's thinking about, and I think that goes for songs too. It's me trying to figure out what I'm thinking about and also how I'm feeling about someone in the case of love songs. And but I mean, it's a good question. I wouldn't recommend someone to try to solve a crisis by writing a song. I'm not sure if that's going to be a good idea.
Okay. So as we wrap up here, what do you hope that readers and listeners would discover about the book that we haven't talked about today?
I mean, no, I mean, I think it's going to be so much fun. Again, it's so cool when the album comes out on Friday because that does add a different element to it, and that to me it adds a different dimension to the novel because suddenly
Mm-hmm.
it is Jay singing in first person about what's going on, and it was extraordinary to me the collaboration because we have moments in the book that are based on Jens's life that then were turned into a different song. And then sometimes I went back and changed the book to match the song that Jens had written about the book. I mean, it was the story sort of has its own universe, and it was really interesting and very much fitting the theme of the book that the universe can be conveyed both in novel form and in album form. And I think it's going to be really fun when both are available to everybody, which will be this Friday, to just see see them play against each other and see the dimensions that that adds. Because again, it's both fun in a storytelling way, but also thematically, it's very much what the whole project was about.
Anything to add there, Jens?
What was the question again?
Oh, the question was, what do you hope that book or listeners or readers would discover that we haven't discussed about today?
No, I'm not sure if there's anything we haven't discussed today. I mean, the importance of music, but I think we've discussed that already.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, if there's one takeaway we want for people to have, it is if you're going to pop out of a cake, make sure there are air holes before you get into the cake. If we can save one person by getting that out there, then really we've done our job.
Okay. Last question, and this is just a fun one. But if you could listen to one song for the rest of your life, not continuously, but whenever it, like the music turned on or the radio turned on, this is the song that came on, what would it be?
Oh God. I mean, that's gonna be horrible no matter what, right? If it's just one song, every time you turn on the radio, it's that
Every
song. I mean, I would probably go for that John Cage composition, which is just silence. I mean, nothing wrong with silence, really. I think that silence is understated in today's climate. I think we need more silence. But I've always said to my dear friend Bill Wells, a Scottish pianist, that his melody called "On the Beach Boys Bus" is the song that would play at my funeral, which I guess is the song then that I would take with me into eternity.
Wow. I immediately was like, what is the longest song that I know? But I'm now having flashbacks to Groundhog Day with the "I Got You, Babe." Oh my God, it's "I Got You, Babe" again. But I'm gonna go with First Love. So that was like, what is a song that every time I hear it makes me happy? And I'm just like, it's very, I feel very basic, but like, it's impossible for me to hear Aretha Franklin's "Respect" without like it changing my mood for the better. So I feel that if I were to have a song that would just appear every day, again, I do think inevitably I would turn against it, but for a while, it would definitely make me feel better.
Those are great pegs. Thank you both so much for your time today.
Well, thank you,
Grace.
Mallory.
It was my first time. This was lovely. And thank you again. Thank you. Everybody go out, grab the album and Songs for Other People's Weddings. Barnes & Noble's book club pick for August. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you.